Hello, this is Eric Erickson. I'm going to take a couple minutes to describe a, a workflow that I've been seeing a lot of people struggle with, in which there has to be um, multiple forms. A lot of people find that there needs to be multiple forms and multiple spreadsheets. And I think using some tools, we can reduce the complexity for a lot of these form-driven workflows that people are creating. Um, the one that I'm making as a demonstration is a simple ticket system. The goal is where someone needs some help, they open up a form, they submit some details on the form, and that is then it triggers an email to someone who can help them. And then as a person helps them, if there's any way that they can, once they finish the assignment or the task or whatever the submission was, they indicate that it's been completed, and an email then gets triggered back to the requester, saying that it's done. So anyway, the way I approach this is once you're in Google Forms, you want to make 4 pages, and you can see pages 1, 2, 3, and 4. And on the very first page, you want to use some logical branching. The very first one is going to have, it's going to be a pick from a list, and you're going to have the requester and the administrator, I called it. I didn't have a better name for it, but basically the person who needs help and the person who's going to provide the help. And here you'll want to go to individual pages or separate pages based upon the answer. So I said submitter type, and then I said select requester to submit a request, and select admin to submit a ticket completion, to indicate ticket completion. So anyway, requester, they go to page 2, which is, I called that requester page, and then admin goes to the 3rd page, and I called it password, and we'll get into that. You call it a required question, and then we can move on. So on page 2, I only created one question, just it's a paragraph type, it says, hey, describe what you need help with, and they can put in all their information, but the question type is request for help. And then based upon this, you want to select that this goes to the submit form page, right? So after the requester fills it out, they go right to submit, and then it submits it on their behalf. So if you can follow the logic, if they selected the admin, or the person who's going to be helping them, it's going to go to page 3. In page 3, I have a text box. It's just called password. And for the help text, I said enter your password to submit details on the request. And here you'll want to select advanced settings. You want to select data validation. The text contains some word, which is going to be the password that you then provide that person, so that they can securely, well, not so securely, but they can submit this part of the page that the requester can't. Not the most secure password, but you get the idea, right? Not the strongest password ever. Make that a required question. And so as the requester, if they select, they get into this form, they select, not the requester, I mean the administrator. If the administrator selects this drop-down saying admin, it will bypass page 2, will go straight to page 3. They enter in their password, and then that will then, it says continue to the next page, it'll go on to page 4, where they can describe the job status. I just said complete and incomplete were the 2 options, and then a paragraph type question that says details. And that's basically the extent of it. So if you want to look at how this form behaves, we'll look at the live view here. So as the requester, you basically select requester, you'd click continue, and then describe what you need some help with. I need help with Google Forms, and then you could submit, and it's done. Now we can also go back and see what it looks like then for the administrator. They would continue, and it would say enter your password, You could type in anything, try to continue. It doesn't obviously work, so you need to have the right password, and then you can continue. And then from there, you can select complete or incomplete, and then some details, and then you'd normally be able to submit. So the magic of all this, though, is not a little bit of the logical branching here, but what helps is Andrew Stillman's and New Vision for Public Schools, the tool FormMule, which I'm sure many people are aware of. If we get into from the form, you can just click on View Responses, which will bring you to the spreadsheet. And now we're going to configure FormMule. And I just added some details here, but you'll want to go to the add-on gallery. If you haven't already done so, you want to go down to FormMule, and you'll want to configure that. Before you do that, we'll want to add a couple extra columns. So I said requester email, requester name, and admin name. Right, those three. Later on, we can talk about this fourth column pre-filled. But for now, just add 3 additional columns. And in the first column, requester email, since they submit the form, their email is going to already be in column B. So you may be asking a question like, why would we need it twice? Because in FormMule, and I guess I'll show you this now, has this great feature of capturing the edit URL. And that's where the magic happens. So instead of using 2 forms and 2 spreadsheets and having them kind of talk to one another, what we do is capture this edit URL, and after the submitter submits the form, the email will go off, and then the person who's servicing the email can see the link in the email to edit it, and then they would use the other portion, a different logical branch, to keep all of their comments in a single row of the form submission. So anyway, the way you'd basically do it is you'd start a FormMule, you would select your form responses, you'd trigger on, send on form submit. There's also a nice feature here if you want to do it based on the timer, but in this workflow, we don't need that. But this is where the magic happens. Ensure that this is checked. Log the edit URL for each submission. And then you can continue, right? And we'll get into those templates in just a bit. But that's the reason that because of the edit form URL is there, the way the workflow works is that you're going to have original person get into the form and fill it out, and then a second person will then open it back up using the edit URL, which means that this username will change when the second person submits. So that's why what we do is we kind of make a duplicate here, and then we will want to use the Copydown add-on as well, and paste as values so they don't change when it's submitted. So it sounds kind of wonkish, but if you keep with me here, you'll kind of see the magic. So in the first one, you'll just want to say it's B2, which is where the edit URL, or where the username is. And then in the requester name, I had a second tab that has the email and the educator name in there. And I use sync data, which is another really great add-on to get this data in here, but that's a whole nother discussion. But as long as you just set up a roster with the email and the educator name, then you could do a VLOOKUP. And I guess we'll just talk about setting up that VLOOKUP quickly. So you'll want to do equal VLOOKUP, and the search key would be the email, and then the range is going to be all the columns in this second tab. The first one being where the email is, and then the last one being the desired value. I want to hit comma and then index. starting with the column in the email, counting that as 1, how many columns do you have to move over to get to your desired value? So I'm going to start in A and I need to get to D. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So the index would be 4, and then you want to type false, and then end parentheses, and that will get you the requester name. And you'll want to do it actually an additional time. And it looks so strange right now, but you got to think in the future, the very first time that the person submits, it will say it's my name currently. But when we submit it and then a second person then edits the form and submits, we don't want the requester name to change, so that we're going to use that the copy or paste as values. The Copydown add-on will just say configure it to paste as values, but this one we'll want to change. So as that second person submits, this will then show the second person. So it's the exact, if you notice here, it is the exact same, formula, okay, in both. All right. So if you're still with me, that's good. So now let's go quickly. We need to configure Copydown. So similarly, if you don't have it, you want to go to the add-on gallery, search for Copydown, and configure that. It's a really simple tool, and it's super handy when you have formulas. You'll just want to toggle it on. You can leave the form row as 2, and then it will find all of your formulas. And in the first 2, where we're talking about the requester email and the requester name, we want those as pasted as values. We don't want those to change. So that's why we'll check those as paste as values. The admin name, although it's the exact same formula as the requester name, we want that to change and update as this thing gets submitted multiple times. So we'll save those settings. And we'll get rid of that. Now we'll go into FormMule, and I guess we'll just quickly go through it here. So once the dialog box comes up, we talked about this. You want to select form responses 1, wherever your form responses are going to be. You'll want to trigger on form trigger to turn that on, and then check log the edit URL. And once that's done, you want to move on. In this case, we want 2 emails. One when the requester submits the form, and then one when the admin edits and resubmits the same form. And we want the requester to basically get the email from the admin when the admin changes the job status to be complete. So you can just say admin, select the send condition to be job status, and then complete. And then you'll want to move on to edit the templates. And this is a nice easy way to create these templates. First template is the requester. This is where I hard-coded my email in here, assuming that if you want, whenever a request goes in, and you can make it more fancy, but in this case, you want all of the requests to funnel to, let's say, one particular account, one email, one person, whoever that person is, hard-coded in right there. But everything else you can set up using the tags or the tokens. So I just said the current date. I saw an issue there. So they're basically at the current date, and then says request for help. And then using the tokens, it would say, hey, whoever the requester name is, let's say Eric has submitted a request for help ticket. And that's pretty simple. Another thing that we can add in there is the actual request for help. And that'll be the details. All right. So that's that. Now the second one, this is when the administrator, the person who's helping, has actually finished the work and wants to let the original person know and say, hey, I finished it. So here you want to use the requester email, and as the 2-line. Subject, I just said status of request for help, and then it'd be requester name, like Eric Erickson. Let's say Joe Smith has indicated that your submission is, and let's say the job status would be complete or incomplete, and then I would say here are the details. And for that, we want to put in details. Okay? And we can get rid of that. And that should be it. All right? So now we can play the game. Let's see what it looks like here. We can go to the live form. Oh, you know what? I just want to make sure that I have everything I'm supposed to have. Not sure that I do. So let's go back to FormMule and go to our templates. One thing that we have to have is the editURL in the admin, and I didn't see it there. It's not there. So what we want to say is, please use this link to indicate, oops, this is not right. Not here. Excuse me. In the requester. So in the original email, that goes to the person who's going to help. We're going to say, hey, please use this link to indicate the job has been done. Right? And then we'll want to go find the form edit URL. There she is. Okay? Now that looks better. Now let's try this. So here's the live form, and I should be the requester. Said I need help with Google Forms. Right? We can submit, and now that should trigger an email that goes to me in my inbox. That will have a edit URL in the body of the email. Let's get rid of that one. And here's the new one. It says 3/9/2015 request for help. We can open that up. It says Eric Erickson has submitted a request for help ticket, request for help details. I need help with Google Forms. Please use this link to indicate the job has been done. And then here's the link. A little big and ugly, but now that's not what I wanted. Oh, yes, it is. You are editing the previous response. That's exactly what we wanted. So now here, you'll have to ask your administrator to go to admin and continue. And they put in their password. Click continue. And let's say the job is complete. The job is complete. And then we'll submit. All right. Now, theoretically, that should also, I should get an email saying status of request for help. This is Eric Erickson. Of course, I keep talking about myself, but you know, the person who helped you has indicated that your submission is, and I got to fix that. It should say is complete. And here are the details. The job is complete. So anyway, I think you see, I did this kind of on the fly. I saw some stuff in some forums that people were struggling with. So this is kind of a long tutorial, but I hope that it helps you see that you can get these emails triggered and not have a super complex system. It can basically be done with one form and one sheet. So one other thing that you may be interested in, I'm probably going to put it in another quick tutorial, is about the pre-filled URL. I'm going to put in another email or another tutorial. But instead of what you can do with this, I'll just show you the power, is you can create a pre-filled URL that instead of going to a form that looks like this, where they actually have to look at this very first one, requester or admin, which is kind of, it's not super intuitive. It's not the greatest looking. You can bypass that by clicking on a pre-filled URL that forces it to the second page, which is really cool. I haven't seen anybody else really doing that. It uses the same sort of functionality as like the automatic submit of the form, but it kind of does the automatic continue to the next form, which is nice that it goes right, just by clicking one click, brings you exactly where you want to bring them, and it's a request for help. So I really hope that this has helped you and has answered more questions than it's created for questions. But reach out to me and let me know if you need anything. Hope this helps.